Hello. Welcome. I am just letting everybody in from our waiting room. And I'm actually going to disable the waiting room while our meeting is in session in case some folks arrive late.
David, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You two know each other?
We were in the same class, yeah.
That's excellent. What are the odds? Nice to see you both. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Very excited to do this.
Oh, we're so excited to have you in the program and to be able to offer it. So, all right, so it's 3 o'clock. This is being recorded, so we're going to jump right in and get started. And then just after the fact, we're going to have this recording available and we'll put it up on our website so that if there's any questions later, we can always refer back to this. So first, I'll introduce myself and then I'll let Rachel introduce herself and then we'll jump in. So I'm Araminta Matthews. I'm the Associate Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies here at Maine College of Art. It means I have the Master of Fine Arts program, the Salt Institute for Documentary Studies, the Continuing Studies program, and our Master of Arts in Teaching program. And I joined in September of 2019, so I'm still pretty new to the college. Rachel?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Rachel Somerville, and I'm the chair of the MAT department and the director of art education outreach.
Great, thanks. So in the short version, I thought I would start by describing what this program is and how it came together. And then Rachel's going to talk through like what the program is actually going to cover, and then we're going to discuss how it works and how it's going to work for all of the folks enrolling. So when I first joined in 2019, I was learning Maine College of Arts and kind of discovering how the programs worked, and discovered that there was this historical post-baccalaureate program in art education, and that later we evolved and developed a Master of Arts and Teaching program. And it was I heard some rumors and that there was some time that there was an interest in helping those post-baccalaureate folks develop into an MAT program, but there was no real tangible means to do that at the time. We're a small department. We have a cohort of about 10 to 12 students every year with just a couple of faculty. And so we didn't really have a vision for how that could manifest. And quite frankly, COVID comes along and that pushed us all into this e-learning world. And e-learning then gave us this new mechanism through which to offer something like this, because now we have the resources and the bandwidth to really develop the opportunity to do this. So we created, we started by looking at the post-bac program, Rachel and I together, in comparison with the MAT program, and determined exactly what was done in the post-baccalaureate program as compared to the MAT. And we discovered it was pretty similar. It was not exact, but it was pretty similar, and that there were a couple of classes, specifically 2 classes, that the post-baccalaureate students did not complete that the MAT students completed. And so through consulting with our accreditors and with the Department of Education, we determined that we could actually, because you're all our own alum, provide those 2 classes for you. And as long as you complete them successfully and you completed your post-bac successfully, you can just roll that right into an MAT degree. So now it's just a matter of getting those 2 classes to you. And one of the 2 classes we had to revamp entirely, because in the MAT program, we're working with students who are not yet professionally teachers. And so there's this one class that's really focused on professional skills for somebody who's never had a teaching job. Now, you all have been in the field for a while, and so that class doesn't directly apply to you. So we evolved it. We made an advanced version that does apply to where you're at in your current.
Is that 837?
That's 837. Yep. So the MAT students in the traditional cohort take 836, which is like, we'll call it the entry level versus the intermediate level. And hi, I see somebody just joining us. We're just talking about the program at the moment, and I just kind of gave an overarching description of where it all came from. And now I'm going to kick it over to Rachel to talk about what the 2 classes are, and we'll also talk about how you can teach them.
Great, thank you, Araminta. So the two classes that we identified as being different from your experience as a post-bac were MAT 800, the Artist as Educator Experience, and MAT 837, Professional Practices, Advanced Action Research Methods. Araminta will talk to you a little bit about the various pathways within the pathway around course dates, but we are encouraging everyone to enter into the cohort style courses. The first one, MAT 800, happening from June 28th to August 3rd. I see the MAT 800 class as really almost a retreat. It's going to be an opportunity to tap back into your artistry, into your artist practice, and look at the connections between art making and teaching. There will be assignments like visual journaling, lots of research and response assignments, as well as a group exhibit that you will design and curate and share with the community. So that's a little bit about MAT 800. MAT 837 is really very much focused on research methods. And again, this was an area that we saw was missing in the post-bac program. This will also be a cohort style class offered in a traditional BFA calendar from September 2nd to December 16th. In this course, you will learn mainly about action research methods, qualitative research like qualitative interviewing and life stories. You'll also work with your cohort to research a topic in art education that interests you. And in both of these classes, they are mainly asynchronous. There will be between 4 and 5 live class meetings for both of these courses. So that's a very quick overview, and I welcome any questions about particular assignment types, or again, the Araminta will be able to answer questions about the various course pathways.
Yeah, and then how about I jump in and talk about the pathways, and then we'll take questions because it might actually answer your questions, and then we'll open it up. One quick thing I will add to what Rachel's wonderful summary of the two classes. In MAT 837, one of the aspects of the research, advanced research, is qualitative interviewing. And so we have a real opportunity at Maine College of Art because to tap into resources we have available, like the SALT Institute for Documentary Studies, which is nearly 50 years old and focuses in the state of Maine. We are going to bring in the director of the SALT Institute to actually provide qualitative interviewing skills right in the class. So there's some opportunity to kind of cross over between our programs there, which is really exciting for us. So we wanted this to be as high flex as possible because so my role, I'm trying to make sure that these classes will work and that they will run as we hope. And there is a fixed number of post-baccalaureate in art education holders who might actually want to pursue this MAT program. And so the last thing I wanted was to create a class that might potentially not run because we didn't have enough people sign up and enroll in it. So we created the high flex option, which means if for any reason you sign up for a class and there isn't enough enrollment, we will automatically flip you over into an independent study. So no matter what, your class will run in one way or another. It'll either be a traditional cohort class or it'll be an independent study version of the same class. Either way, you'll have it. So that's one thing to be aware of. So MAT 800 is really about, as Rachel said, getting back to your making and then looking at the pedagogy of making. So we offered 3 opportunities for that. So there is the online, all of these are online, by the way. There is the online class where you would have a few meetings, live meetings that are in real time over Zoom, like we're meeting now, and you'd complete the remainder of your work through Canvas. And a lot of that, if you do the online version, is a self-driven studio practice. We'll have prompts for you and some exploration for you, but it's really about you making your art in your own studio practice, that version. The independent study version, very similar, except you don't have that cohort meeting in live time. You're instead, you would have at least 3 meetings with your instructor at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. but the rest of it would be asynchronous. You might be exchanging emails or posting to a website. Our Canvas is the learning management system we use, so that would work for independent study or the online class. The third option, and this is the option that we actually offer to our MAT cohort as well, is this: you can choose to audit a BFA course. Now, in COVID times, that is limited to space, social distancing, availability, but we do have options for you. And we wanted that to be available because if you wanted to learn a new studio practice, like jewelry making, for instance, let's say that's new to you, and we have an opening in our metals and jewelry department, we could put you into that class as an audit. You'd learn the studio practices from that class. You'd take it just like a BFA student would, in real time on campus, which means there would be COVID compliance rules, vaccination or being part of our testing pool, or both. And in addition to that, you would also have the components of MAT 800 to ensure that you meet that graduate level aspect of the course. So that is one of the three options for MAT 800. And then MAT 837 is either online or independent study. Just like MAT 800, the only difference is there's no audit necessary. Both of the classes can be taken 100% online. You do not need to set foot on campus unless you do the BFA audit, and that's that one slight adjustment in how things work. So now is a good chance for questions, and I'm sure you've got a ton. Yes, Simon.
Hi, Dave will remember I was always the person that put my hand up first. I'll try to keep it briefer than I might have back in 2009. You guys mentioned some specific dates already for both of those courses. But in some of the emails and back reading and stuff, it was talking about there were different sessions. I was, at least in my head, looking at this, approaching this as the MAT 800 sort of this summer, fall, like in the nearer time, and then 837 like next spring or summer, because I know there's some time to complete this. And quite honestly, I have 2 little kids and we do a lot of stuff, and I'm a freelance illustrator as well as a teacher. And so I'm just, I don't mind the idea of stretching it a little bit for myself. Like, I'm not in a screaming rush to complete. So are there more options than just the dates that were mentioned?
Yes. So right now, it sounds like it would actually work for you, potentially, the dates that were mentioned. So the MAT 800, 628 to 83, Rachel can tell you exactly how many class meetings there are, but it's pretty relaxed because that one's self-driven. Then
Yeah,
the
and
next
that one
class,
for summer and being able to do studio work, like that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then the currently what we have scheduled for MAT 837 is from September to December. So that's just like your traditional 15-week model, lots of time to complete the work. So it sounds like it might work for you. But
it might, if this were not COVID land, and we don't know what's going to happen in the fall with schools. And so, like, bluntly, like, I'm trying to keep my plate open because who knows what we're going to have to suddenly learn to do. So September 2021.
I have some other insights for you. So let's imagine you sign up for that fall class. It's a traditional class. So if you needed it incomplete at the end, that's also an option. And whoever the instructor is would be able to extend that. So it could be the class runs from September to December, but a person who needs an incomplete could theoretically carry it into March, or whatever length of time they need to complete it. So that's one option. The other option that we're looking at is developing asynchronous versions of the course, which is kind of in lockstep with the independent study model. The asynchronous versions of the course there's still a start and stop time for when the course might run, but again, it works just like a regular course. So if you needed it in incomplete, that's another option for you. I am still planning to look at being able to host these in the spring, summer, again next year. It really depends on interest, number of enrollments, number of people. Right. Worst case scenario, it becomes an independent study. The ideal model is you do the cohort, because then you actually have the opportunity to have critique sessions together, which I'm sure you know the value of. You yourself are in that world. But an independent study is fine. Like if that's where we end up having to go, we can also make that.
So would you advise then to like go ahead and sign up for that September to December course? Or like for someone like me who's really thinking, like until just now, I was really thinking about this, like, oh, I'll do that in the following spring, because the emails implied that that was possible. So
Yeah, it's possible.
I'm just sort of thinking like, if it's already set up, I would rather wait. Personally, I would rather wait and take these sort of one at a time and not right when the new school year is starting. So yeah, so am I making sense that if that's an option, that's what, like, personally, that's what I would like to do.
What do you think, Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make it work. It would, depending on enrollment, right, Aaron?
Right.
It might have to be an independent study.
Right.
So we will work with what your
Okay.
needs are.
You guys
and
are great.
I have 2 little kids, so I know how challenging
I appreciate
that is.
the flexibility. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, any other questions? Please.
Can you talk a little bit more about the like sort of mentor educator role, like if it were an independent study or even with the cohort, like how does what's the sort of instruction element?
You are in luck because Rachel is currently the one who is going to teach both classes that we just described, at least for those 2 sessions. So Rachel.
Yeah, sure. So you will be working from Canvas. So and you're probably familiar with different platforms.
Well, some, but I've never used that.
Okay, yeah. It will be really simple. You will be reading and responding to a variety of research that you're going to read, and you will still be developing an action research project that you'll implement in your current teaching context. And that goes for everyone in any of the MAT 837 independent studies or courses. We will work with you to design an action research project that works with your current teaching context. And we know that that's pretty crazy right now with COVID. So we'll still be able to collect data and analyze data and do all that. It just might need to be modified. You'll implement a research study on a particular topic that you're interested in. So all the assignments will remain the same, and there will be weekly dialogue between me and a person enrolled in independent study, asynchronous dialogue. And then again, in any independent studies, there are at least 3 conferences where we will meet via Google Meets or Zoom. And typically these conferences will culminate around a summative assignment. So like you will present your action research project to me in one of the conferences. You'll share your learning around a particular topic in our education. And that's how it works for the regular courses as well. Our Zoom meets, our group meetings are going to be around culminating projects like critiques and like these research projects. So I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah, go ahead. Aaron.
I would add one other layer, and I just want to warn you, like the sky opened up in a giant thunderclap just a moment ago. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. I will do my best to get through it. So I just wanted to add one other contextual bit to this focus of advanced action research in wherever and whatever it is you're doing in your current professional practices. We do also have internal expertise in art education delivered remotely. We have one of our adjuncts and myself have more than 40 years of experience in distance and e-learning design. So if that, given COVID world and knowing that you've probably all been doing that, like organ grinders trying to play 10 instruments at once for the last year. We do have some expertise in that. And if that's where you wanted to put your focus, that's another area we could help you with.
Yeah, and so, oh, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Just a quick question. Let's say we wanted to do both of those periods. What's the next step? What do you need from us?
Great question. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it. Basically, you just need to take both classes. Thanks, Anne. One thing I would advise is this summer, the MAT 800 class that's compressed in 5 weeks it's a compressed class. So a 3-credit course class, for those that are unfamiliar, it's 45 seat hours and about 90 hours of homework time, no matter when or how you take it. So a 5-week class, I do not recommend you take 2 of them at the same time. Maybe in the summer, if you are like a public school teacher, because you wouldn't be having your day job theoretically during then, so you might be able to do both at the same time, but that's a hefty workload. So I do recommend you only take 1 at a time. But you just need to register for the first class that you want. And MAT 800 starts 6/28. So if you want to start then, that's the first one I recommend you register for. You can do it right through our CS website at cs.meca.edu. Or you can register for both. And as soon as you're registered, either Rachel or I, although lately it's mostly been Rachel, will reach out to you directly and kind of finesse your unique pathway. So we'll either enroll you in these 2 courses at the dates and times that we've already discussed, or we'll talk through what your independent study options are, or when the next course might run, or how it might work for you. So really, it's register for 1 or both classes and you're started.
Okay. I had just sort of one more thing in terms of I guess like your role, Rachel, in this would be, and it connects really well to Araminta. What you just said about that sort of compressed element, like how many do you have a sense yet of, with that 800 course, how many kind of meetings there would be, like if it was in the cohort, not independent study, how many sort of synchronous Zoom meetings and things like that, or how often that would be in that 6-week period?
Sure, yeah. So it looks like it will be 4 to 5 for MAT 800.
Total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I'm just thinking, I feel like I should have more questions. This is exciting. No, I get you guys have answered all my questions. I don't know, I'm excited. I love having a like, this sounds silly as an artist, but a reason to make work. Like, it's really easy with being a teacher and being a parent and like just the million different things that we have to do, that our own work gets backburnered. By the way, Dave, your paintings have been phenomenal the last couple months. Awesome stuff. So I love being able to like tell my family, like, sorry, Dad's got to go paint. Like, don't bother me. It's for school.
That's great. And it's really a lot of looking at, that's why I'm calling it a retreat, because it's really a lot about looking at what have been some of those roadblocks and talking about it as a cohort, and then understanding again through the research why it's so important to continue making and creating some goals for ourselves within the 5 weeks. So it is going to push you to make, and so it'll be a good excuse, definitely.
So,
right. Oh, and actually, speaking of that, that must be pretty open in terms of what people do and make and the different kind of arts that we do, because I'm primarily an illustrator. So I said painting, but for me, it would probably be more like black and white, pen and ink stuff, or even digital work, things like that. Is
Absolutely.
that
Meeting all of you where you are. That's what the mantra is of this program is, for sure. Yes.
Great.
One other quick thing about the cohort model, and we're trying to figure how this is going to work for the independent studies, and we have some slight solutions in place, but nothing settled, is there's a final exhibit at the end, as Rachel mentioned. So that means that we'll have like a gallery of your pieces digitally online, probably for a couple of months as a digital exhibit. That becomes challenging when you're not a cohort anymore, right? Because then it's individuals having individual pieces up. So we're still working on how that might work or how that might look, but that is another element of the program that we're doing. So if you're in the cohort, you'll have a show at the end.
Right. Great.
Any other questions? I will add, it has been thrilling, the response to this. I anticipated maybe 5 or 6 people would be like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And within 4 hours of my first email, 18 people had responded. So this is clearly something that has been wanted, needed, desired. I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad that you're able to do this and that we're able to provide this too. we do not have a complete list of the alumni. It turns out there's a good 10 or 15 people whose contact information has fallen off. So please, if you want to help by reaching out to anyone you're still in contact with from your old cohort, let them know that this is an option, send them our way. We'd love for them to just know it exists, if that's something they want to do. Thank you for that. And then the other thing I would just put out there is Anne, who just left, our registrar, and also in this room is Siobhan and Nick. They are our continuing studies director and program coordinators who will actually enroll you in the initial classes, and then Anne registers you. We're going to have to pull all your transcripts from when you were a post-bac student, and chances are very high your address and your phone number has probably changed, maybe other information. So we haven't like actually formally collected that yet, but if you can just like shoot us an email, or you're already in touch with Rachel if you've signed up, drop us a line, just let us know what that is so we can update our information. Because of course, the other thing is these are credit-bearing tuition classes. So at the end of the year, you're going to get your tax statement saying you paid for tuition classes. So we need to make sure it's really you when we send that out to you. So thanks for updating any of your contact info with us.
Rachel, can you throw your email address into the chat so we can just copy paste from that?
You can also, because you're registering at the CS website, let me drop that address in here. So this is the CS website where you can register for the classes. You'll find it's under, I think it's called Post-Bac to MAT, like that's actually what it's called, it's Post-Bac to MAT. You'll also find all our other CS classes there, so feel free to look. And then the email address for the folks that you would be interacting with, Nick and Siobhan in the room, is right here. So you can also just drop them a line when you register with your address, and they'll make a little file for you and shuttle it up to our registrar's office. And did I miss anything? CS or MAT, anything? Awesome. Okay, well, I'm really glad you were here today. Thanks for bringing great questions. Like I said, this recording will be made available in public, and we'll be placing it on our website. So feel free to share that with anyone you like. And I'm really glad to see you. Next step, enroll if you haven't already. We'll see you in class.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
Thank you.
everyone. Nice
Okay.
to meet you.
Pleasure. Greta Grant says hi, Rachel.
Oh, cool.
Loves you.
Oh, tell her I said hi.
I will.